Welcome to the Beyond Physio Podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. Welcome to the Beyond Physio Podcast. I'm Dr. Jerry Yu, CEO and founder of Next Level Physio. And today on our Beyond Physio Podcast episode, I have a near and dear friend, Patty Clark, who is not only a friend, but also a former patient, and not just any patient. Patty is a survivor, and you might not be able to tell from what you're seeing right now, but Patty had a massive stroke back in 2014, and I wanted to share her journey with you because it's about more than just getting past physical illness. It's the journey that she's taken to get to this point where she's still active and still doing a lot of the things that she loves to do and is thriving and has been thriving since that stroke. And there's a lot of important lessons, I think, that we can all glean from when we hear the story. So Patty, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Jerry. Yeah, so my journey started in 2013 when I decided that I wanted to do a triathlon.
Yes.
And
who made you do that?
I don't know. maybe Jerry.
Yeah.
So I started training for a triathlon, loving it, loving the whole process. And during one of my workouts, I just wasn't feeling right. I felt a little off and stopped running. And next thing I knew, I was grabbing my head with the worst possible pain of my life, and I crashed to the floor. With that, I am experiencing a ruptured brain aneurysm, which then triggered the stroke that I had, and was in the hospital for about a month. And during that time, it was touch and go. My family was told that I wasn't going to survive. And then I showed a glimmer of hope by a wiggle of a toe. And, there were times when I was in the hospital that I could remember asking, number one, first of all, if I could walk. And if I was allowed to walk, to get me out of the bed so I can move. There was so much of me that I just wanted to get back to just a little bit of normalcy. So I walked out of the hospital a month later. And then, as you may recall, I had a vigorous rehabilitation. So Jerry got to see me almost every single day.
What a pleasure that was. It really was. In words I can't even express right now.
So I committed to my rehabilitation, and I took it very serious. And there were times where I was exhausted, and I maybe argued a bit. Just a little.
Now, Patty, I want to stop you right there because I want to relive that time with you because Chris, your husband, was on the phone and we were getting updates to how you were doing. And it was a very scary time. We had a lot of prayers for you and your family. And we were really worried about what was going to happen in the aftermath. And it really put a lot of things into perspective, even for me at the time. So not only we've known each other for so long too, Patty, that I was like, oh my God, I might be losing a friend. And so it was very, very traumatic for us too, just on the sidelines, praying for you and just like really cheering you on as best we could as far as, from where we were.
It's amazing. And that in itself was amazing. All the people that were, the prayers and the like, as you said, like the cheering on the sidelines. I mean, if I remember some of that, I don't remember all of it, sadly. But I knew that I had many people in my corner.
Yes.
I really did.
But it's funny, Patty, because having known you for so long and seeing how giving you are as a person and seeing how much support and care and love that you give to so many people locally, at work, whatever, in your inner circle, whatever, it's amazing just how much giving to that extent can pour back right into you
I felt it. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, and I needed it.
Oh my God, so much.
I did. I felt like I had many angels.
Mhm.
I always say that,
Yeah.
looking out for me, and I, I think that what happened to me. It was as as horrible as it all was. It was the perfect. It was the perfect storm, almost like where I was.
Yes.
Everything that all the chain of events that led up to that. If one thing was slightly off, things could have been much different.
Definitely. If you can track all that and go back to even having, I think it was an EMT or nurse actually, who was actually working out next to you at the gym, right?
Yeah. Well, even going back a bit, I never work out in the evening. That was
That's
the
right.
other
Yeah.
strange thing, if you recall.
Yes.
I was like the morning,
Always.
the first time, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And for whatever reason, and I still to this day can't remember why, but we had to go in the evening. And the other part was that I was actually with my husband.
Yeah.
So
That never
happens
happens either.
Like,
Yeah.
So those were the two things that were off to begin with. And thank God.
Mm.
I could have been out driving my daughter and her
On the road,
friends
on Route 4.
exactly.
Yeah.
So where I was, I was at the gym when this all happened. There was a nurse on staff that happened to be there, and I believe, again, being where I was saved my life as well.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And Patty, I think what was really surprising, because I've worked with patients with stroke and have had post-aneurysm, was the fact that you were actually up and standing and not paralyzed on one side of your body, and you were actually speaking full sentences. This in itself for me was like, this woman has a purpose in life, because not most people that I meet after a stroke don't end up getting to where you are right now.
I mean, I can remember in the hospital, one of the doctors walking by my room and saying, "That's the brain patient,"
Right?
Like, because I was,
You're talking exactly.
I mean, shocker that I come out of a surgery like talking, but I also remember. I can remember asking. I think it was Chris, when he had told me all this had happened to me. I was like, am I fate? Like, I was like, am I okay?
Right, right.
Um, and again, I still had the strength to be able to stand,
Yeah.
and a miracle,
Yeah.
really.
But Patty, what's really awesome is that on that road to recovery, you were still touching lives along the way, which I think says a lot about you as a person.
I just wanted, for me, I was so grateful. Number one, I was incredibly touched by how much everybody was supporting me. But I also, God, if there was a way that I could ever give somebody or educate somebody and have this not happen to anybody else, that was, I think, more important for me. I don't want anybody to ever have to go through what I went through.
Yeah, and I think you became a spokesperson for American Heart Association. Or?
Well, I'm an ambassador for the American Heart
Of course
Association.
You are. Why wouldn't you be?
And then with the Brain Aneurysm Foundation, I've done, between all of like my fundraising, and then I got to do the New York City Marathon as, on their team. So I try my hardest, like I said, to, if there's one person that I could at least, help, or I've gotten many messages through the years of people asking me, for doctors or advice or something.
Wow.
And it just makes me feel so good that I could help somebody, even like one person.
Absolutely, Pat. And I can speak just from people who've spoken with you, how many people you've helped since that incident, and how you continue to impact the lives of people. Now, what's also striking about this whole situation, Patty, is that in that situation of recovering and healing from this, some people will go the route of being negative and for every good reason why, and it may be miserable and whatnot, but you chose to actually make a different path for yourself, thankfully. And along the way, you're able to do even more good than you already did.
It feels good, like all I wanted to, well, I just wanted to feel normal again, right? And I just knew that it was never going to be 100% how it used to be, if there, but I was a positive person before any of this happened to me. And something that I had learned in one of my support groups, because I feel like I did everything that I possibly could to get through this and learn and educate myself. So in one of my support groups, the doctor said that if you're a positive person and something like this happens to you, something tragic, most people can remain positive. But if you're not, then, it could have went another way, like you said. But because I felt like I was always an upbeat, positive person, I took that, number one, as just being lucky and grateful to still be here. And then I also knew that I was, compared to some other people that I had learned, that either had the same thing happen to them that happened to me. And I was doing pretty, pretty well.
Very well.
And I took that as like, it energized me a little bit. Like
sure.
Every time I would either meet somebody or find out about something, I'm like, you're okay.
Yes.
Look how good you're doing.
Yes.
You got this.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories of being with you on this road to recovery over the last couple of years, especially in the beginning, was when you were able to start doing physical activity again. And for anyone who wasn't there back many years ago, one of the things that Patty said that we joked about was, to protect her, it would be great to have a bunch of us sit around you at any given time to make sure that, like VIP here, that kind of thing, right? And so for one of the local triathlons at the Wyckoff Tri, we surprised Patty by finishing our race. And then she was up, doing her race, which was amazing in itself. And several of us, including her husband, dressed up like
Secret Service
guys. And we escorted her for the last remaining few miles in her run. So that was really amazing.
I will never, ever forget that as long as I live, because I think you all knew, anybody who knows me knew that I was going to be the last person on this, doing this race.
Yeah.
And, I had the sweeper behind me, the guy with the van with the lights. I'm like, I am the last person doing this race. So you all knew that I was going to be out there by myself, which I usually am anyway. And when I saw you all at that transition waiting for me with your suits, I just was like I was blown away. I was touched. And I was like, oh, thank God. These people with me to run with me the rest of the 5 miles. We did 5 miles.
That was 5 miles, yes.
Yeah,
it was a very long 5 miles.
It was a long,
because we had just finished our race, so we were exhausted.
Right.
And then there we were with you the whole time.
Well, they're right. There were some of you, and there was a handful of you Laura and Val, who did the race, and now you had to go back and do it again. Probably cursing me.
Exactly.
But I will be forever grateful for those moments. And, as you said, like the cheerleading on the sidelines. I mean, like, I think I said this to you at another time, like, you don't need a cheerleader per se, but it really is nice. Like, you have to also be your own cheerleader.
Absolutely.
I think, like you have to be strong enough in your head to get you through those moments.
Yeah. Now, Patty, what do you think it was that drives that side of positivity in you? Because when we deal with clients in physical therapy, for example, I find that when I can strike that chord in somebody to like get them to brighten up a little bit, it makes the rehab process a little bit easier every time they come in, especially for chronic conditions.
I think there's a couple of reasons for me. I'm just like, number one, I'm a parent, and I always, since day one, wanted to show our girls that I was strong and that I wasn't a quitter. And I grew up, and I think this, I grew up with seeing my own mother suffer
Mm.
with mental illness.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking for me to see. And I never wanted my daughter to see me
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that was a full reason, but that was a piece of it.
Sure.
That, I didn't want to be over medicated. I wanted to use exercise. I think, as
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
exercise was what, got me through this, not medicine,
Yeah.
not painkillers,
Yeah.
full on exercise rehabilitated me.
Mhm.
And I think I just wanted them to see that, put your mind into something in the most challenging obstacles, you can get through it.
Yeah. I think for a lot of our patients with chronic conditions, that is probably the piece that does take the most rewiring that has to happen
Yeah.
during the process, because they've been set in feeling this way for so long that they don't feel like they can get out of that hole.
Yeah.
And it's so important for us to really kind of work with how we talk to them, how we coach them through this process of rehab so that they can get to the next level. Because otherwise, once this is gone, it's really hard
Well,
to
that's
work
why so
to help
much of
them.
this comes from comes from your heart.
Yeah.
But I had just spoke about this on with work just a couple months ago, and I think that nothing is ever perfect either. And I think that's what we all think we have these 20-year-old bodies,
Right.
and it's not the case for many of us anymore. So those aches and pains, I think you have to, accept them,
Mhm.
and then just keep and push through, because you aren't going to be.
Yeah.
So that those first few minutes of that run, I always say, I'm like, it sucks. It's
Yes.
terrible.
It sucks for me too. I
It's
didn't have the stroke.
awful.
It's awful.
It is
For sure.
awful. But, a couple minutes in, you're like, okay, this is not so bad.
Right. Absolutely. And I don't know about you, Patty, because I think we're more or less in the same age group, but
I think I'm older.
The younger I get, the more I have to warm up.
Oh my
I've said this in
gosh.
other podcasts where if the class starts at 5:00 for the warm up, I got to go there like 4:50 to do my own little warm up, and then I'm ready to go into the group warm up.
It's funny. My husband makes fun of me because when I go to work out, and I'm like, this is the only time I've ever been on time for anything.
You?
Me, because I like to get there. I like to kind of do my own stretching, and I soak it all in. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I have to modify that. I can do that.
Mhm. That's awesome. But Patty, this journey, I think a lot of people would have quit so long ago. And I want to acknowledge and commend you for continuing on the path. Like, you have been so consistent since that recovering from the aneurysm and the stroke, that I love to talk about you as an inspiration for a lot of our clients who are going through some tough times, physically, mentally, emotionally.
Honestly, like I have said it a bunch of times, movement for me has been my medicine. Moving and just movement every single day has helped me recover the way that I have. And exercise, I say it all the time, exercise is what saved my life. So why wouldn't I continue to stay strong and to keep moving? Because I also think about it like this way: we're not getting any younger. We're going to get older, and sadly and realistically, we are going to have to be faced with other problems as we do get older. And I know that, and I want to be as physically strong as I can be, because I know that I already have a little bit of an obstacle, and I have to work a little bit harder. So, and I always think about that, but I'm so grateful because, again, movement, when you can't do it, when there was a second that I didn't know that I was going to even be able to walk, just to know that in itself has changed
Everything.
It changed everything for me.
That's crazy. Yeah, I feel that as I'm also getting older, I have a better appreciation for being able to move, and being able to do the exercises that I do, because it's not only just about myself and optimizing my own health, it's also about being an example for the people I work with. And for the guys that we see who are in their 40s and the women as well, it's like, yeah, I feel you. You know, when I have setbacks, I get frustrated too, because exercise for me is my mental health sort of like ritual every day. And that's what brings me a lot of energy to be able to work with clients all day and to do what I do in business. So I echo that, where movement is very medicinal.
I think it sets the tone, like you said, for the entire day. You know, it's not only from a physical aspect, but now you have these endorphins that can get you through the work, the physical work now that you need to do, whether it be in a meeting, a call, you're teaching. And I just think it just sets the tone for the entire day.
Absolutely, yeah.
And for sure, it helps me go to, I put myself to bed, I get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And, it's just been a part of my life pre anything that happened to me. During, again, like I said, I feel like it saved me where I was. And my rehabilitation was solely exercise and not pain pills.
That's awesome. And that's, with the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
Which is still a crisis.
It's still.
It really is. And people, often rely on that as a quick fix, which I understand, especially if you're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
I don't want to dismiss that. Sometimes you have to go on some of these medications to be able to manage what you have right now. But also understand that, and for everyone out there listening, that there are other ways, including movement.
Yeah.
And Patty, I think what I really want to drill down here is, you didn't move a lot at first. It was like a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
But we carefully graded your progress to make sure that, hey, we could only do like 5 squats today. Right. Next week, we did 7. It was a long journey.
Yes,
but
it was.
That's what I also want people to understand, is that like movement, healing, recovery, especially if you have something chronic, can take a while, but it's a little bit that you continue to chip away at by being consistent in small doses that will help you to get on the right path.
I think I said this another time too. It's the small wins, like those little, exactly like you said, it's like chipping away. You have to be patient. You cannot expect to be who you were or where you want to be overnight. It does not work. Like, here I am 9 years, and I can do things this year that I couldn't do last year. I couldn't do, certain I couldn't do like box jumps. I'm just like using that as an example. I could do box jumps now.
You can? That's amazing. You couldn't do box jumps when I saw you.
Right. So I'm just saying, like, that's little things like that.
Yeah.
Or my balance, like doing, like going forward. I couldn't really do that without like my head bothering.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
I'm just, like, my balance being all off.
Yeah.
So but 9 years, you could look at it that way. So I have chipped away. Like, each year I feel like I have succeeded in doing something, but it hasn't happened overnight. But like I said, the small wins, like, wow, okay, this is great. I could do this. I can remember the first mile that I ran after my surgery. I can remember a few months later doing that mile. And that was like, I was like an Olympic athlete, and I just got the gold. So, but celebrate the wins. I tell everybody, you have to be proud of those moments.
I had a conversation with a client yesterday. Actually, it's funny you bring that up, where I asked the client, hey, did you acknowledge how far you've come in the last couple of weeks? Because when we first started, you could barely walk.
Yeah.
And now we're basically doing squats, deadlifts, all these crazy things that you were not even able to do on day one. But I want you to feel proud of yourself, because I'm proud of you, because you can now do things objectively better than you were, months ago.
It's amazing. And I think this. I contribute so much of my recovery to you, because you really pushed me at times when I was like giving you the side eye.
I can remember, and I think I still have the bruises on my arms, the number of punches that Patty has given me in frustration. Oh my God, I don't want to do that.
You're gonna make me do that. No, but I mean, all the faith and you believed in me. And I think that that goes a long way too, when you have somebody that is not only your doctor and encouraging you, but like I knew I was safe. I knew that you weren't making me do something that was going to hurt me. And I knew anything that I was doing was just going to make me stronger and it was going to heal me. And that was also the mentality that I had to have. As much as I didn't think that at first, I was like, this guy's crazy. I'm not doing this. But then I'm like, okay, no, he knows what he's talking about.
I've heard worse, by the way.
and I think I say that again to so many people. I'm like, I had to trust my doctors. I really had to trust. And I had to believe that I wasn't walking around. They wouldn't let me walk around if they didn't think that I was going to be okay.
Now, Patty, it's funny because I remember Chris saying when you were coming out of the hospital that there was only one place that you were going to go to for your physical therapy, and he wouldn't take anywhere else for an answer. Thankfully, it was with me.
Yes.
What I wanted to ask is, what do you think would have happened had you gone somewhere else?
I mean, I don't think I would have had the recovery. I think going where I was not only comfortable and where I trusted, I think that, and having you be there coaching me and encouraging me, I think that set the whole tone of my recovery. Going someplace else, not saying that I wouldn't have been as successful, but at the same time, I think mentally it probably would have set me back.
Yeah.
You want to also have, you want somebody who genuinely cares about you.
Oh, you thought I cared about
you?
you?
I guess I thought you maybe cared about me. As much as you're like, oh, I gotta see her again.
There's Patty, great.
You know, I saw you like 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like 5 days, like you were
we're besties. We're definitely besties.
Here's your coffee.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
But you know, I like I said, I such a horrific thing that happened, but everything, you know, it was like the perfect storm from where I was, the doctors that I had, the rehabilitation that I went through, everything just, I couldn't have asked for a better outcome. And, you know, like here I am 9 years later, and I feel pretty damn good, you know, overall, like, you know, besides like a few aches and pains because I'm just getting older. I mean, I'm good.
No, you're really good, actually.
You know,
and I love that you're still thriving.
Yeah.
And doing all these exercises and stuff like that. It's really happy for me to say.
I think consistency is key, though. You know, I never stopped.
Yeah.
In 9 years, I never stopped working out. And I just think that if there's anything that anybody can take away, it's like just move every day, go for a walk around the block.
Yeah.
Right? Like just do like these like little movements. I think you'll be happier that you did than you didn't.
100%.
Right?
There are very few times in life that I've regretted exercising.
Never. I don't think I've ever regretted.
No.
Honestly. Cold lake swim, maybe.
That, for sure.
Maybe.
So funny. You know, Patty, it's funny when I think of Next Level Physio, where it's, you know, our basically our motto is move, excel, and inspire. And I think of you during this process of recovery where, you know, during our move phase, it's just about getting people to move.
Yeah.
And if they've had surgery, they've had a stroke, they've had something serious, just getting them to be able to do everyday things and help with their movement basically is where we start a lot of our clients who've had some of these serious issues. And then we spend the bulk phase in the excel phase, which is where we strengthen with the stabilize, you know, working on balance, these kinds of things, getting you to the point where you can do things in the inspire phase, which is getting back to what you love to do.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about being in that phase for someone like you, Patty, is that it's not just about you feeling inspired to be able to move again, but it's about you. And I know you, Patty, you're the kind of person who also inspires others to do the same. And that's what makes the inspire phase so powerful for us. Like, I want to see people go from where they couldn't walk or they couldn't run, they couldn't do these things, or they could only do these things.
Right.
By the time they leave us in the inspire phase, they're like, I didn't know I could do that or get back to that.
It's,
and that's what
it's
you
an
embody.
amazing feeling when you, like I said, when you, it's like, we can do very hard things,
Yes.
and we can,
very resilient. And Patty, like, you are like the poster child for resilience, in my opinion, and grit, because again, it's that little by little kind of movement that you've done, and the progress you've made every year that's been very steady, that I think has really.
But patience is key.
Huge.
I mean, I'm like, you have to have patience.
Yeah.
And you have to celebrate, like I said, the small wins, because, and you can't be so hard on yourself. Definitely. I mean, I'm my biggest like critic, as you know.
Absolutely.
But but you can't be so hard on yourself. Yeah. You have to be like, okay, tomorrow is another day.
Yeah. That's cool. So my takeaways from this episode are definitely be in community with people that will support you, that you love and care about, who will also love and care about you, to make sure that you're moving a little bit each day, especially if you're going through some, serious injury and you're not really sure about how that recovery is going to look. Just being patient along the way, and making sure that as you go, that you're also being purposeful about it. So it's not just about me. Mm-hmm. It's about how many other people can I also impact because of my efforts to get past where I am right now. Somebody's
always watching, and you're setting an example for someone.
Absolutely.
That's how I looked at it too.
Yeah. Patty, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jerry.
It's always a pleasure catching up and making sure that you're okay. So thank you again for listening to us on the Beyond Physio Podcast. Until the next episode, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. It really does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or comment if you got at least one or two helpful insights or takeaways to help you get to your next level.